Hi there, Joka here from A Pocket Full of Happiness, and in this video I'm going to show you 3 cards that I've created with some of the new Halloween products. The first one is called Jack-o'-lanterns, that you can create 3 different layered Jack-o'-lanterns. This one is called Boo, and you have the Boo sentiment and some bats. And then the last one is an A2 size cover plate called Trick or Treat background, and it has some candy corn design on it. So moving on to my first card, I'm creating a, well, Halloween color striped background. Maybe it's a little bit of a different take on Halloween colors, but I wanted to add some more or some different colors. Also, I have to mention that I know nothing of Halloween. We don't celebrate it. So all I know about it is some of my friends like it, and just the standard icons. So those are the ones that I created today, and I hope those of you who actually celebrate Halloween and love Halloween, I hope that you can use these products. So for this card, by the way, all my cards are again 5 by 7 inches, and for my first card I'm going to create a jack-o'-lantern like pattern in the background. And so this is how you put them together. I used 2 different oranges and on top a really dark purple so that it looks kind of menacing. Is that a word? I think so. It looks like trouble is what I mean. So these are the 3 types of jack-o'-lanterns, and I created quite a few of them so that I could cover the whole background with them. And I mean, I really like to do this with smaller die cuts. It's easy, and I think it's always fun. But you could also actually do what I just did. You could put them on top of each other. They look, well, they can be stacked, but I went a different direction. And I used the mini alpha die for my sentiment here. I did not want to add a large sentiment. I just really wanted to use a lot of these lanterns to create my pattern. And once I'm happy with it, I'm starting to glue them down. And normally when I create a design like this, I make sure that some of them go off the edges. So basically I can trim them, and I can use those little pieces that I trimmed off to add on the edges of the paper, if that makes sense. And also because I think it's more organic. It's like when you cut into a fabric, you will have the design cut, right? So that is kind of how I go about this, if that makes sense. So this is where I trim them off, and I will use those to fill up empty spaces around the edges. And if this doesn't work for some reason, then of course I just quickly die cut an extra 1 or 2 pieces. But I think in this case I didn't even need to do that. And I like to create random patterns more than anything. I don't like repetitive pattern that is not, that is always symmetrical and just, I don't know. For me, that is boring. So I just prefer randomly placed things like this. So once I'm finally finished with filling up those empty spots, I am going to add some foam tape to this panel because I want a little bit more dimension on my card. And for that, I'm going to use my favorite foam tape that is not 2-dimensional, but it's just enough, maybe 2 millimeters. I feel like I already mentioned that, but maybe that was in another video, right? This is my first card in this video. I am doing 8 voiceovers, in fact 10 voiceovers today, because I have some other videos as well. So I'm a bit confused. So I'm sorry if I repeat myself several times. So on to the next card. For this, I'm using the Boo sentiment, and I actually die cut the sentiment several times for first of all to make these shapes sturdier, because I want to add some foam tape to them. And just so I have a little bit more color on my project, I'm layering some lighter orange behind the darker one here. And then I'm adding foam tape to my letters. And in fact, I am going to create several of these Boo sentiment just so I can cover a whole background, and I don't have to think about what else, like what design I should create for, go around this sentiment, or I don't know if that makes sense. So basically I made the sentiment my whole design element. So the whole card is just covered in Boos. So once I figure out how I want to do this, and this I actually, this is not a random pattern like I mentioned earlier. This is one of those kind of not perfectly placed, because I don't do that. But it's like, you know what I mean. It's different. But to not make it so boring, I'm going to place some of those bats in between, and they will not be, the pattern is not gonna repeat itself, if that makes sense, because those will be placed randomly. And I actually die cut these all from a really dark purple cardstock, and I kind of bend their wings a little bit so that there's more dimension to those as well. Then using liquid glue, I'm just attaching these to the background, and then this card is ready. Moving on to the third one, I die cut the cover plate from white cardstock first, and I am creating an A2 size panel here that I covered with double-sided adhesive, and I will glue this on the back of the Trick or Treat panel, you can see here, because I want most of these pieces to stay in there, actually all of the pieces. I don't know how to explain this. I really like to do this. I think somebody called this onlay technique instead of inlay technique, because I will add the colors on top of this, so there's going to be more dimension, and it's, I don't know for what reason, but I find this easier to do, actually. And yeah, and I actually needed white for one part of the candy corn, so that I'm actually going to just leave as it is. And then one by one I die cut the colors, and I will just one by one add them on top. And in this case, I decided that I wanted to have this super dark purple for my background, so I attached that on top of the white. But you will see that I'm not going to inlay the white parts of the candy corn in it. That's just going to stay as it is now. Next, I'm die cutting the orange one. This is a darker, I think it's called terracotta. It's cardstock from Spabinders, and you see that I'm only using those little pieces, but obviously I'm going to keep all the letters, and I'm going to keep the panels as well, because for a future project they are always good. And by the way, I am not using yellow for the middle section of the candy corn, because I don't know, yellow, I can't deal with it. Like, I mean, orange and yellow, I know it is the typical candy corn color, but I don't like them together, and I did not want to pull yellow in this color scheme, so I just chose a lighter orange, but I think that looks good. I don't know, to me, but I don't know anything about Halloween. So, and now I am placing the dark purple sentiment back into the cardstock as an extra layer, and then I'm going to layer my colorful sentiment on top of these letters. And it's really, I was thinking about something, and I don't understand why that happens. When I have to layer letters just, on their own, I never ever manage to layer them properly. They are always, I don't know, you can always see the layers, either left, right, somewhere, But in this case, when I'm layering them on top of the actual design, I don't know how to explain this, but you see what I'm doing. When I do this, they are always perfect. No idea why, but this is why I really like to do this, because it just looks so much better than I normally do on when I try to layer single letters. So just to add more colors, I am cutting a frame for, or like a mat for my card, and the card base is white. So as an exception, I'm actually placing the A2 size here in the middle. Normally I like to place that on top, if that makes sense. Anyway, these are the first Halloween cards. There's another video with more ideas. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.